Hey everybody, it's On Screen Off Screen with Josh Conlon and myself. We have. Oh, okay. I didn't even look at our topics. Let's start off. I feel like we started off with Josh last time, so let's start with Conlon.
Okay, cool. So I just finished the latest Completionist book. I love these books. They're a just big fan favorite for me. I just have a really good time with them. I was more negative on the last book, and this one just came out. It's called Uncapped, and it is a return to form. It's very good, and it made me like the last book better. Kind of reframed it in my mind. Basically, what's going on is our main character Joe. He tries to save some people that he can't save alone. And he channels divine energy through his body to be able to do this, to pull them from the abyss. When he's channeling, something goes wrong, and he gets divine energy burned through all of his mana streams throughout his entire body. That's what we're left with in 2 books past. The last book is about him figuring out how to be able to use his mana again. And the thing that I didn't like about it is it felt like it was too easy. But when I thought about it during this book, he basically has to call in every single favor that he's built up over the entire book series to be able to create a solution that he shouldn't be able to create, run by an incredibly powerful man that he, again, does an amazing thing for, to be able to have him run this ritual to put his body together so that he can function. I was frustrated because it felt so easy, but it's literally taken his entire journey. It's taken moments from every single book to be able to do this. And in this book, he can function again. But the ritual that's holding his body together, that's making his mana work, will only allow him to have 7 upgraded skills. If he grows above that, if he gets 7 new skills, whatever it is, the entire thing falls apart, and he doesn't have the resources, he doesn't have the favors to be able to put it back together. So it puts him under this crunch, and he's trying to become a grandmaster. That's the point he is in the series. Um, he's and so they give him a tribulation as part of becoming a grandmaster, where he will get skills significantly easier, and he has to say no to them over and over again. It makes for some really good jokes. It makes for some really cool ideas for what could be combined later on, because he gets all of these options that he has to say no to. They do some cool things with his coffee elemental, where the coffee elemental is having a war, and they literally start a coffee shop where he puts his other coffee elemental friends inside the coffee shop to brew coffee and get stronger so that they can come ahead in the war. It was like a really cool little side fantasy quest idea. I was
So,
like, super fun.
brew
It's
coffee
hilarious.
to get stronger.
Yeah. So like
Okay.
his he has a coffee that he's named Mate, and because he drinks so much coffee, he like lives on coffee. It's part of Joe's character. Mate has become more powerful and evolved like a Pokemon, and and so he becomes a leader in this war against Kumbacha or Kumba. How do I is that how I say it? Kumbacha. Um, the other drink, basically tea and coffee, are combining
Oh,
to
yeah.
beat this assailant, this drink that everybody hates. And the coffee is losing. So they start this coffee shop, which is what Joe's wanted to do from the very beginning, and started brewing and giving everybody free coffee so that these coffee elementals can become stronger and beat kombucha. And it's hilarious. It's very well written. It sounds goofy, but it was just a lot of fun. And this book series is just fun. This book was back to the fun roots. They did some cool things with like um from the very beginning, being a scholar, going being against the scholars, and being an occultist. It's a profession that Joe has, is a big part of the story, and he finds the head of the scholar and occultist professions and figures out that he started both of them, and has to help one of his friends, Boris's, who he uh, uh, I think Josh has gotten to this point. Boris gets excommunicated from the scholars, and he has to help him get back into the Scholar Association. It's a good, another fun like side quest that connects to everything that's come before up to the very first book. He, in book 3, I think it is, kills a Sage of Darkness and the new sage that's taking his place takes a prominent role in this book. It's drawn back to a lot of the events that's happened in the earlier part of the series, and it makes the entire series feel more fluid, feel more connected. I really liked it. It was a lot of fun. Um, in the world that he's on right now, it's called the Sage's Ladder, and there's these buildings that are all over the place, but in the entire time you can't figure out what it is. There are mythical monsters that you need to kill to become a sage. And this world is on Ouroboros, the world snake, and the spines that they are living in are literally its back as it's rolled up and it's asleep. And he gets charged with this idea to keep the snake asleep. He gets to be a part of a secret organization. And that's the one goal, is to keep the snake asleep. And it's a really cool world building idea. They explore it really well. It was a good book. It was just a fun, good book. Josh, you should keep reading this series. When you want something that's just going to be an enjoyable read, it's worth continuing. I don't think a lot of the answers that you want haven't been answered, but it's still just fun. I'm going to give it I'm going to give this one like a solid 8.7. I thought it was particularly good.
Sounds like whimsical.
It is.
Like the coffee elementals. Sounds funny.
Yeah, it's just there's a lot of really good little fun ideas that the authors come up with that I really haven't seen anywhere else.
Good. We need more. I feel like whimsy and new ideas that aren't like, yeah. I'm glad.
Okay, timeout. You're not getting new ideas. I'll agree that it's fun, but it's not new.
It's presented in unique ways.
How is it different than any other lit RPG?
Just like the coffee elemental thing, I really haven't seen in something else. Like, it's a little bit different. The world snake thing is a little bit different. They have a really good job of giving character voice, and they're fun characters. They're unique. There's this idea that a sage can't you can't become a sage because you're owed too much, and I thought this was really cool. So they're going through the reason that you have to use a mythical core, is what it's called, to be able to separate yourself from the karmic debt that people are owed you and you're owed them. You're supposed to have a moment of pure balance to be able to to step into sagehood absolutely cleanly. So there's the healer, the sage healer, and the sages are like the top of their discipline, is the most evil person on planet Earth, because they have too much karmic debt. Or most healers have too much karmic debt because they keep healing people and they keep people alive. But the healer, the sage of healing, doesn't have any karmic debt because he literally holds all of this healing against them, and he's actually an evil person. Like, they did some cool things with the way the world works that's really twisted. And that's what I like about the Dakota Kraut series. He literally writes down all the mathematics for everything, for all the ways the characters work, and he has to figure out ways that make logical sense to break the math, which makes the world unique and makes the way that he breaks the math interesting to the story. If Does that kind of make sense, Josh?
It does, but it's still not new. It can be
Okay.
done well without being done new.
Without being done new.
Yeah,
Okay.
because I've been listening to a book that I wasn't really going to talk about. It's called something in a demoness.
Okay. I
It's
don't know what
another
this
lit
one is.
RPG. It's just when I was looking at it, came up recommended, and I was like,
Okay.
why not try it? And then I can recommend something to Conlon. Lost Souls and a Demoness, and it is
Okay.
largely the exact same as it's like Dungeon Crawler Carl met the Completionist Chronicles. Its
Okay.
ideas are exactly that. Earth gets turned into a dungeon crawler Carl. She goes into the
Okay.
dungeon woefully prepared. Instead of
Okay.
choosing to be a elemental or a whatever, she chooses to be a demon. Completionist Chronicles. And she learns magic, Completionist Chronicles. This one's just not done well. The reason I wasn't going to talk about it is it's just super generic. Like, okay, this is happening. And like,
It's just a generic power fantasy kind of thing.
yeah. And like, it does one thing well, and what it does is not doing something, and that is she's a succubus, so it very easily could have been a smut book, and it's not.
Kind of
Like,
cool. And
okay.
that's about it.
Yeah. So like I agree Completionist Chronicles is done well. I agree it's well thought out. But like the
But it's
karmic debt, that's just
you
Buddhism,
know, that's true.
right? Like it's not a new idea. And in that sense, like there is no real new ideas. But like it very much is just Buddhism. And the sages are the ones who achieve the spiritual awakening. Like it's just Buddhism right there. So um, that is my argument
That's a good
against
point.
it. Is it's not really new. World Snake that's done in uh,
A lot of
a
stuff.
lot of stuff.
No
I
doubt.
thought the building thing was cool. Like it's a cool idea, and I felt like that was pretty new. But the World Snake has done a lot of things. They did a unique thing with something that has been done a lot of times.
Yeah, like there's a mix and match for sure. I wasn't trying to start an argument because I largely agree with you. It's a great series. People should read it. I don't have anything against it. So
Cool.
All right. Well, with that, let's move on to your topic, Joe.
all right, this one is because of Conlon. Last week he talked about Devil Wears Prada 2, and he told Lauren and I to watch Devil Wears Prada 1. And while it's been on my list for a while as kind of like I'm so curious as to why, and it's not like Dirty Dancing where I kind of just know because of pop culture. It's referenced a lot without it. Like people talk about the Devil Wears Prada, but it's never really like the plot or whatever. And Colin thinks I was really gonna like the first one and told me to watch it. So I did. And my note that I put on here is I'm genuinely shocked how much I liked this movie. But to put that in a more honest way, I'm genuinely shocked I didn't hate this movie as much as I hated it. But it's still garbage.
Okay.
This is not a good movie. This is one of those movies where they try and tell you that this is a good person to root for and they're an utter piece of garbage. And everyone's going to hell. I hate the fashion industry. I think it is a net evil thing in this world, and this movie glorifies it. It tries to give it meaning that just isn't there. Um, and you're
Even
supposed
with
to
Anne
root.
Hathaway leaving at the end.
She has zero integrity. She is a horrible
Okay.
person. She
Okay.
goes into a situation, she gives up all of her values. She tells everybody who's telling her that she gave up all of her values that they just don't understand. And then she gives up her values again. She's like, yeah,
By
you're right,
leaving?
except I'm going to be with this horrible guy. And I'm not
Okay.
really changing. I'm leaving the situation, but I'm still wearing all the fashion stuff. I'm still gonna be this person just without being this person anymore. She has zero integrity. She has zero honesty. She has zero values. She has zero honor. She has zero respect.
Okay.
With that being said, this is the best movie that has nobody to root for. Usually, when I'm like, there's nobody to root for and it ruins the movie, I give it like a 1 because there's nobody to root for. But I'm not giving this one a 1 because there were scenes that I liked. There were certain things I liked, I guess. So much so that I'm not giving it a 1, I'm giving it a 3 because this movie sucks.
I'm sorry, man. I honestly thought you would enjoy this one. I really did. I was
It's
wrong.
it's about a zero integrity person selling out her integrity and blaming everyone else.
I thought it was about a person kind of getting corrupted and realized they were getting corrupted and then leaving the corruption.
I thought it was about a dress.
Lauren's right. It's about dress.
She doesn't leave it though. She's still dolled up at the end. She chooses to date the guy who hit on her when he knew she was in a relationship. She's like, yeah, I don't want to be with Miranda anymore, but she doesn't change. She doesn't learn from this. She's just like, I'll just sell myself out in different ways. Look at me.
Matt, we saw this so differently because I saw it as like she didn't have very much confidence. She gets confidence. She didn't have very much like drive. She decides to get drive for herself. She is somebody who kind of gives up on things at the beginning. She becomes somebody who doesn't give up on things, but she also realizes that she did sell her soul. So she moves. Yeah, she still likes the clothes. She still likes fashion. I don't think liking fashion means you're evil, but it was what she was doing
It is the
because of the
representation of
industry
evil
and
in the movie.
how she it's what she's doing that is the evil thing that she is sick of doing. It's those actions that she doesn't like to take. So she stops taking those actions and becomes more of a she becomes somebody who's confident but isn't going to be part of this industry that's sucking her soul away.
I'll be so for real right now. I thought that this was a Cruella de Vil movie for the
No,
longest time.
no.
I thought it was like the origin story of Cruella de Vil, and then when they came out with the movie Cruella de Vil, I was like, I thought
Did you
that
already do that?
yeah. I was like, we already have this.
I don't see it that way, Conlon. She doesn't hate her life before. She's not miserable. She's very comfortable in the skin that she's in. She's unapologetically who she is. She gets pressured into being a different person. She folds almost immediately. She starts loving the attention that she gets for changing all of who she is. And at the end, not saying liking fashion is evil, but it is the representation of evil and how devoting so much time and energy to it is, and she still does that.
What do you think about? Because I think it's a similar character journey to our Lindsay Lohan in Mean Girls. Would you agree with that, or do you think that's
No, not
crazy?
at all.
No. Okay.
Because Lindsay Lohan learns. She takes action. She makes amends. She takes accountability.
Okay. And you don't think that Anne Hathaway does that in this? Because to me, like Lindsay Lohan becomes kind of the crazy bitch who is wearing all the fancy clothes and she's doing her hair, and at the end, she's wearing the fancy clothes and she's doing her hair, but she becomes more of herself with a lot of the lessons that she's learned about sticking up for herself, about how to kind of honestly how to play the game and survive and win, but not be a terrible person while you're doing it. Like stand up for yourself.
When does
All
Anne
of the same
Hathaway do
lessons.
that?
When does she apologize to people?
When does she take accountability? When does she learn from her actions? When does she do any of this? Other than her quitting from working with Miranda, what does she do? Because the movie ends with her just walking down the street with the horror of a guy who hit on her constantly while he knew she was in a relationship. There's the scene with the ex-boyfriend where he's like, you gave up your integrity. You became an entirely different person. And she said, yeah, it's your fault.
Did she? Man,
Yeah.
I'm gonna rewatch the movie because I don't remember that.
She's like, you pushed me into doing this. And I was sitting there like, no, he didn't. He
You chose to do this.
supported
This is something
you.
you wanted to do.
He said, it's great you have a job. And then he was like, it'd be good if you gave me some attention and time. And she said, you made me do this. And then it gets
I
to
just
the
don't have
end.
enough time for
And
you.
he's like, I you gave up all of who you were, and so it just didn't work out. And she's again, yeah, you pushed me into doing this. It's your fault.
She just blames him the entire time. I don't remember that. That could be very well true.
She doesn't learn.
100%.
She
And with
doesn't
Clear
take
Race, I've seen this
accountability.
movie a million times.
She doesn't do anything better. She just like quits working with Miranda, which is a good thing. But the way I would compare it,
it's like they have a first step of accountability, but they don't show the rest of it.
Yeah. And the way I would talk about this is like, this is a movie about an alcoholic who owns a bar. And they go through a process about learning how alcoholism is bad. And they quit the bar, and then they have a scene where this person is walking through New York City with a beer in his hand and being like, at least it's not bourbon or hard liquor. That's this movie. That's what I would say it is. I hated it. I hate, like, honesty and integrity and honor are big attributes for me, so I get that not everybody is going to have those same values. But this is one that they just say, yeah, that's okay.
What if literally they had another 5 minutes where she just goes to apologizes to people, and that was kind of like the end of the movie? What would that change your opinion of the whole thing, or no?
A little bit, because accountability is a good thing. But you still have the scene where she is blaming the boyfriend for everything she did. Saying she didn't want this job, he pushed her to get into the job. It's all his fault.
That is fair.
Like, this is very much just the message that, like, men are all the problems. It's all his fault. He wanted her to get a job, and so it's his fault that she sold her soul.
Yeah, he should provided better.
Just kidding. And he was such a terrible boyfriend. When she spent all of her days and nights, and he said, "Hey, I don't like this person you're becoming." Man, that is horrible. How dare he say something like, "This isn't the person who you're not the same person anymore. Can we talk about that?" And she flips out and blames him again. Like, there's nobody to root for. Nobody. Everybody sucks. Everybody's evil.
Except for the guy. I actually like the guy a lot. I feel like he's very rootable. What is his name?
He's not rootable.
The douchey guy? You don't think he's rootable?
No.
Rootable for?
The douchey guy? The one that hits on
douchey.
her?
No, not that dude. The older guy with the glasses. The fashion dude.
Oh, the guy who whines and bitches and teaches you that men aren't allowed to talk about their feelings. Yeah, great message.
What? That is crazy, man.
It's what happens in the movie.
So that way at all. That's crazy. I like that. Whatever his name is.
Yeah, Josh should start a new podcast where he just like tells you what. Like, don't watch the movie. I'll tell you what it is. Because I wildly enjoyed watching Devil Wears Prada through Josh.
Now you don't have to watch it. You're welcome.
Are you going to watch it, Lauren?
I don't know. Probably not.
You should watch Devil Wears Prada. I really want to know your thoughts specifically about Devil Wears Prada. Is Josh being like too harsh on this movie?
I don't know. I'll probably hate it. I usually don't like those type of movies. All right, we will move on to my topic, which I've talked about before on this podcast. I wasn't too far into it. The topic is The Language of Small Things, written by Slytherin Princess 124. And I have gotten further, but I have not yet finished it. But I'm in the process of trying to get it printed into book form for myself because I love it that much. And I want to have it on my shelf because this is the writing is different than anything I've ever seen before. And at first I was like, is this bad writing? And then the more I read, I'm like, no, this is actually brilliant. And I love this. Um, because the whole premise of this book is like the language of small things, the little things that you do throughout the day, people's habits. And our main character, she notices everything that's going on. And our main character, this is set in the Harry Potter universe, and she's the same year as Harry Potter. And you get to see her view of things as just kind of like a student that's set aside from the big three of what's going on in the castle. And it's really funny because like the first few years she kind of breezes through years 1 and 2, and she's like, yeah, Harry, something happened with Harry at the end of the year, I don't know what, but something was off. And then they're like, apparently there's like a snake in the plumbing or something. And but then it starts going into more detail in her third year, uh where she's like, her best friend is Cedric Diggory. And it starts like going off about like all of his little habits and how they're like inseparable. And they have like, she always has cookies for people who are feeling like down that day, or if they're lost, and she is always the one to like go and cheer people up. And everybody like keeps calling her like the weird kid because she really likes animals and she goes out to the forest all the time, and so she's teased a lot, but she still remains kind to everybody and still goes out and out of her way to like help people. And Cedric's the same way. And like, she notices how like he's a prefect, so he helps the first years to their dorms, and he's like always the one to carry everybody's suitcases. And she just like, in the writing, she always like notes all of the small things that are happening around. And a lot of chapters, there's nothing that's going on except for like them sitting together and talking, or them just walking and her talking to portraits and stuff like that. So it is a very like slow progression. And then you get into year 4, and Malfoy gets turned into a ferret, and like the whole school kind of like is laughing at him because he got turned into a ferret. And Moody like bounced him up in front of everybody. And so she notices this, and even though Draco has like bullied her and is one of the main people who like calls her names and stuff, she goes up to the astronomy tower where she's noticed he goes when he's like flustered and doesn't want to be noticed. So she goes up there and she gives him like some green flowers and a cookie. And he's like, why are you giving, like, why would you do this for me? And she's like, well, I wanted to let you know I didn't laugh. And so that kind of like hits Draco for the first time. He's like, somebody's being kind to me for the first time without wanting something back. And so he doesn't trust it. But anyway, this character keeps going throughout. And then, of course, we get to the part where like Cedric dies. And I texted Josh throughout the week, and I was like, I knew it was coming, and I was like, I'm crying at work because I don't want Cedric to die. And like, they're leading up to this, and I know it. And then he does die, and she writes grief so well. And like, I feel like in media and stuff, I always feel like when a death happens that it's like, oh, it's really sad and grand in that moment, and then we move on and we might mention it once or twice throughout the rest. This was like, you felt the grief with this character and you sat in it for chapters, and she wrote it so well. And you can see how this girl, she's still kind, but she falls into this like deep depression of like, she can't like really take care of herself, and all of the people that she was kind to then come and like help her through this depression. And then we get to like books 5 and 6 where the war is kind of getting up, and her dad goes to war, and her dad's also this very gentle, caring person, and her father ends up getting killed. and like Voldemort says something along the lines of like, your lineage has a habit of being meddlesome, and gentle hands keep getting in my way. And like this book is basically like the embodiment of like a hobbit of with when Gandalf explains like big evil isn't like just cut down with like heroics or whatever. It's the small deeds that we do every single day and or like stick with it. And so this character, even though like tragedy is happening upon her, and like she keeps choosing to be kind and remains kind and keeps helping those first years and stuff, but it keeps like showing how it's changed with the grief that she has to carry. And then at one point, like Voldemort even kidnaps her and is like torturing her and like is trying to make her not be kind, but she just still chooses kindness after all of this. And yeah, this book is very well written, and it is a slow burn for Draco Malfoy. And I love how she is writing Malfoy because it kind of flip flops in between views. And so it's mostly with our main character, but every once in a while you get Draco's point of view. And he's somebody who notices all of the small things as well, but he is guarded by it instead of like leaning into it and being kind. And then he sees how she reacts to all of those things and how she chooses to be kind even though all of these things are happening to her. And so it starts slowly shifting his view over the years of what he should do. And so in his 6th year, when he's supposed to kill Dumbledore, he's like super conflicted, and he like wants to tell her that he's like, look, you should stay away from me, like this is not good, I'm dangerous and stuff like that. But she like still just remains kind to him. She's like, I don't care what you like, what's going on. She's like, I'm still gonna be kind. So anyway, absolutely love this book. Destroyed me in the best way possible. It is very good, and like it's changed my point of view on some things. It like makes me want to be unapologetically myself and like to be kind and want to share more. And yeah, anyway, it's a really good fanfic. And like honestly, I want to get this book and I want to be like, this is the real Harry Potter series. It's my canon now. So absolutely adore this series. I'm literally getting a company that like will, if you send in the PDFs and stuff, they make it into a book for you and will send it back. And yeah, so I'm doing that because I want it on my shelf. And I've designed the little book cover and everything for it, and I'm really excited. So
why do you think it sounds like there's a lot of Draco Malfoy like try to fix him, save him, make him a good guy thing in a lot of these fanfics. Why do you think that is? Because my experience with the movies and the books, he's just kind of a punk jerk.
So, especially like in this fanfic, the thing that I love about it is that she's not trying to fix him. She's just being kind to him. And
Okay.
like, and there's actually at one point he's like, stop trying to fix me. And she's like, I'm not. She's like, I'm giving you a cookie. That is what I'm doing. Like, she's like, that is it. I'm not expecting you to be better. I'm not expecting anything from you. I just am trying to be kind. But where it comes from, like, I don't know. I was rewatching the Harry Potter movies, and like, if you, I don't know, it's like with the nature versus nurture, right? So a lot of the fanfics, it's a thing of like, well, he was brought up that way, but you can see how, and I think a lot of people just read into a lot of things of the actions of Tom Felton's character in the movies. like how Tom Felton acted, that a lot of people read into it, um, and made it so like they found like redeemable qualities that they then, yeah, it's a lot of because there's a thing called Draco talk, um, where there's a lot of people who thought that Tom Felton was very attractive, and so it stemmed from there that people wanted a redemption arc because they thought Tom was attractive. So that's where most of the redemption arcs come from, and then people reading into how Tom acted on things, and like in the end, like Malfoy does flip over from like not being um, on Voldemort's side, and so I just think that it's great that a lot of people have done fan fictions where I think they do that redemption way better than JK.
Do you think Tom is attractive? Is there some interest
Tom
because of
Felton.
that for you? Yeah.
Um, growing up, I wasn't like a Draco fan,
Okay.
but I actually like older Tom Felton. And so I'm a fan of older Tom Felton. Um, and then I'm trying to think of how I got into reading these fanfics because I
Did these fanfics make him more attractive because you associate him with the character? That's actually interesting to
no,
me.
I
No.
I watched The Flash and he's in The Flash and I thought he was adorable in The Flash. So that's where I thought he was attractive from. Um, but now with all the fanfics, I'm like, I don't really know exactly what's canon anymore now that I've read so much fan fiction. But I think that Draco is the most interesting character now.
Interesting. Okay, cool.
So,
Cool,
yeah.
cool, cool.
Yep. All right. So, with all of that, go read The Language of Small Things. It's free. Uh, we have our shared topic, Maul, episode 1. And I believe this was a Josh recommendation. So, we'll have him go first.
Yeah, so last week I recommended a different animated movie. It was garbage, so I changed it on my co hosts. And Maul is a show, and we all like Clone Wars and Rebels, and it's a lot shorter than a movie, and it was short notice, so that's why I picked this one. I honestly didn't have high expectations. Having more Maul was not on my wish list of things to get. I think that there's plenty of him in Clone Wars and Rebels, and I think having him sparingly is good for his character. Um, just like with Darth Vader, I think the more we get of Darth Vader, the more we're like, well, he's not that strong. Obi-Wan beats him after not using the Force for years. What's the big deal? But um, kind of stuff like that. So I don't have high hopes. I think that this is going to be the most balanced show based solely on the first episode. But like, if I think back to Rebels, I think, man, the first season was really rough for me. I really didn't love it. It's got some good moments, but like, it's not the best thing. And then I think back to the first thing in Clone Wars, that awful movie. And I go, okay, well, this is better than both of those, right? Uh, I I don't think it's going to hit the high highs though. I don't think it's going to hit high as Clone Wars. I don't think it's going to hit the highs of Rebels. Not even close. It's just going to be more Maul, and it seems to be just a show about how awesome Maul is, which is totally fine. It's perfectly enjoyable. It's all about him being a drug lord and running his crime empire, and that can have good story. I've got nothing against it. I wasn't like super invested, dying to watch the next episode, but I'm interested. For me, the best scene in episode 1 comes at the very end when it doesn't say produced by Kathleen Kennedy. That was my favorite part in the whole thing. Not in the credits at all. That's my favorite part.
I thought you were gonna say like when the door slid open to the girls' cell or whatever, and I was like, oh, okay. Because I was like, that actually did intrigue me when they ended it right there. Because I was like, is she gonna?
Yeah, no, that's a Star Wars thing. They do that a lot in Star Wars actually. So it's good. I'm interested. We're gonna see. So yeah, my basic thoughts are I'm interested. It's perfectly fine. I'm giving it a 7 for the first episode. We'll see. Like I said, it's not high on my I'm dying to watch the next episode thing, but it's good.
Nice. All right, Colin, what are your thoughts?
I really liked the first episode, and I played it on the computer that I'm displaying on right now, and the colors I thought were really good. I love the fact that this show is a little bit darker, but I didn't get like slow like Andor, but it had some Andor vibes with how it was a little bit darker, a little bit more adult. We've watched these shows as kids, all growing up. We're all older now. We can watch something that's a little bit more adult oriented, and I feel like they're catering to the audience that they've built for the last, I don't even know, 18 years, however long Clone Wars has been going on. And I appreciate that a lot. I have watched more into the show. I think it is quite good. Where we're sticking to the first episode, I was impressed with the color scheme. I love the music. I love the music so much. I think it's great. And it's different than other Star Wars properties. Like, they did a really good job with making it feel like Star Wars, but it's got a little bit more grit to it. I was super impressed with that. The guy who voices Maul, what's his name? Sam Witter is just cool. Like, I texted Josh this, but Maul is just cool. And there's a scene a little later on where he does a Vader walk down the hallway, kill everybody, but then he speaks. And I'm just like, how are you so cool, Sam? How can I be more like you? Because you're just so cool. And everything he says just has this like kind of British badassery, even though it's not British, but it has that tone and that way of speaking that feels very British, very distinguished. It's just cool. I was impressed with the first episode. I like where it's going. We can talk about more of the show as we watch it. I think it's going to be good. It had me have a little bit more hope for Star Wars in general because Ahsoka ripped out my soul, and I was like, Dave Filoni was in charge of Ahsoka, and you ruined all your characters. So can you actually even pull this off? And the first episode's good, and the follow-up is good. And, like, fingers crossed, it keeps being good. That's basically all I have to say.
I was intrigued. Like, when Josh was like, yeah, let's watch this, I was like, okay. I wasn't intrigued too much about, like, actually watching it, but then when I started watching it, I was like, oh, okay. Because I guess I just get, like, so confused with all of the Star Wars spin-offs and all of these shows where I'm like, where does this fit in the timelines of everything that is going on? And so, like, now I'm just like, you know what, I don't even care, I'm just accepting what's happening because I don't know where we are. So that's kind of how I started off Maul, was I was like, okay, trying to think of where we are. I'm like, is Vader alive or is he not alive? Where are we in this point? And so I was like, just confused. Because then I know at some point, like, they bring Maul back after the. Anyway. after he like
This
turns
is after he
bad.
gets chopped in half and all that. Like
He's
it's
like
after all
half
that.
spider at one point, wasn't
That
yeah.
that is a really good point with the show. Like you don't know. You find out that the empire is taken over, but like how long is the empire taken over? I have no idea.
Well,
Yeah,
you
so
know
I
because he's doing his drug empire, which
Yeah.
happens most of the way through Rebels.
Yeah.
So
so I'm
nerdy guys like me know, but I totally agree. Like, there's just so much to know.
yeah, but people like me who are I don't know the timelines of things. Um so I was a little bit confused there, but then just decided to let it happen anyway. Um but I was really intrigued with Green Pigtail Girl. Because there's like a scene where she like steals food for like her partner or whatever, and her partner actually turns her in for stealing. Uh, and then she like gets thrown in jail, and I'm like, ooh, I love the conflicted person where they're like on the edge. That's my favorite character, and Star Wars loves doing that. And so yeah, I'm excited to see her journey. I don't really care about Maul, but I'm excited to see her journey. I'll probably continue watching. So,
What are your guys' ratings on the first episode?
7. What about you, Colin? What's your rating?
I'm gonna give it like a solid 8.1. I liked the first episode. I was impressed.
And Josh, did you give us yours?
I also gave it a 7. I'm right there with you. I'm interested. We'll see. Could be good. Could be bad. We'll see.
Well, all right. That is our episode for this week. And Dungeon Crawler Carl book 8 just came out, so everybody hurry and read that because we are.
We're spoiling the whole thing.
We are spoiling everything. Tune in next week and you better read it, or we will tell you everything that will happen. Have a good week and read Dungeon Crawler Carl.
See you guys.
Bye.